I feel it got rejected in a sense, not by anybody from the royal press, but more from the person who had given me the opportunity, because I think she couldn't see where the article was coming from, because the first words which I had used at that point in time is what I'm going to be using today, as I wish the great fourth a very happy birthday. Hi, my name is Karma Dendrup. For those of you who have been watching me for some time now know that every Wednesday I make a post called hashtag my take. Today I thought, as this year is a very special year here in Bhutan. His Majesty the 4th Druk Gyalpo is turning 70. So is Her Majesty the Gyalum Achi Doji Wangmo Wanchu. She is also turning 70, and with that His Holiness the Jekempo Tukuji Michoda is also turning 70. And hopefully I'll be able to make videos for Her Majesty and His Holiness as well. But this video has been bubbling inside me for quite some time now. So I'll just go ahead, because given the 10 minutes duration that I get here on TikTok, I don't want to overshoot it. So the quote that got my article about the fourth king rejected was a Buddhist quote. A Brahmin is not a Brahmin by birth, but a Brahmin is a Brahmin by his actions. And that's how I had started the article, and the person who was responsible for okaying it found it disrespectful. But here today with this video, I meant that not out of disrespect, but out of awe and out of appreciation and gratitude is what I had meant to use those lines. And today, amongst the many awesome great things that the Great Fourth has done for Bhutan and the rest of the world, I wanted to highlight two which I find are timeless legacies. One is His Majesty's decision of putting all the prince and princesses, all their royal highnesses, in public schools. And I can't fathom or imagine or even pretend to imagine what the thought process behind that must have been from His Majesty to take such a decision. But nowadays, as I see different income levels of schooling here in Bhutan and different opportunities, and see Bhutanese parents sending their children abroad, starting from as early as pre-primary, from kindergarten all the way to their high school, to expensive schools. Not that I have anything against expensive schools, but every time I hear of such a choice or a decision that a parent makes, I am mindful and cognizant of the fact that it must be by no means easy to make such a call. I keep thinking about how His Majesty the 4th Druk Gyalpo had all the resources, and in spite of that, he chose to put, including our current king, the 5th Druk Gyalpo, they were all seniors in school, and some of the HRH were juniors in school. So I find that single decision has had an impact in all of our lives, because of the network that including our current king, His Majesty the 5th Druk Gyalpo, as well as all the rest of the royal family members, could in a sense empathize and see life from a more local and on the ground level lens of what other fellow Bhutanese and what our lives and what our challenges are. And I don't think I can quantify what the impact of that choice by the Great Fourth to have the royal family members attend public school. I mean, that's one thing which I find was really great and awesome of him. Besides that, the other thing which I find, I mean, the list is innumerable, starting from the constitution to our transition to democracy and all of that. But I thought, so the other thing which I find more amazing, and one of a great legacy of the 4th Druk Gyalpo, the Great Fourth, is him abdicating at the prime. His Majesty the Great Fourth could still be ruling us right now, but his choice to abdicate and then very recently I was listening to a very moving speech, an inspiring speech by the fifth Druk Gyalpo in Gyalpo Mindfulness City, and he spoke about how His Majesty handed over the reins to him when he was just 26. So that I feel is a lesson that many of us, like I'm a parent right now, and hopefully I'll be able to emulate what the great Fort did in his capacity, and I mean with his greatness and his wisdom. To some extent, my own parents, I recently lost my father, but they themselves also, uh, given the fact that they didn't have any formal education, they also made a similar choice in their lives, and we are better off for it. I think sorting out for us people on the ground level, on in whatever income bracket that we find ourselves, if we are able to sort out retirement, inheritance, and all of that while we are still alive, it makes things a lot more simpler for the children that you leave behind. And amongst my own friends and amongst family as well, also I notice a lot of confusion and bewilderment with regard to, if your parents have been successful and they have an inheritance, then they themselves also, given their old age, find themselves to be confused, and that confusion translates generationally. Uh, Not to point fingers, but the other opposite side is, you look at Thailand and then you look at UK, the United Kingdom, and you see how when Queen Elizabeth passed away, at what age she handed the golden throne to King Charles, and similarly in Thailand as well also, when that ancient, I don't know which, I don't have the history and the reference and research behind it, but whatever this idea was of the preceding monarch having to pass away and for the other one to ascend the throne, I don't think that works. And we, at least here in Bhutan, have been lucky, thanks to the great Fourth, to witness what are the possibilities and what a beautiful transition we found ourselves in when His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo handed the golden throne and the raven crown to our current king. So, Las, without overshooting my time, that's what I wanted to share.